Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you another one of my FIFA 13 formation tutorials. Now, today's guide is going to be all about the 3-5-2 formation, and I've set a team up with Italy using this formation. And if you guys want to check it out, you can just rewind the video, go back to that little bit there, hit pause and have a look at it. But what I'm going to be talking about today is using the formation in general, and it will have a couple of player-specific tips, but the vast majority is just going to be about general formation tips. And the main thing and the main strength you get from using 3-5-2 is power in midfield, because midfield is the primary battle zone for the vast majority of games, both in real life and on FIFA, because whoever wins the midfield battle tends to do better in the game, because you get more space, you can pass, you control the ball more, you lose it less, and when you do lose it, you don't lose it in dangerous positions. When you control the run of the play and you control midfield, the chances are most of the play is going to be in your opponent's half. So if you do lose the ball there, you've got plenty of time to get back, resettle, get behind the ball and go again. And 3-5-2 is, in my opinion, the best formation for really nailing down that midfield zone. And the way the formation's normally set up is key to this, because in midfield what you normally see is two holding midfielders, two wide midfielders, and then a centre attacking midfielder. And what normally happens is these two holding midfielders sit in front of your back three pretty much the entire game, and they act as sweepers. So if anyone breaks through your midfield, they can come in and sweep the play up. But also, very, very similar to the 4-2-3-1 formation, what they do is control the play for you. They get on the ball and pass it around. And because you've got that extra man in midfield, I mean, playing five in midfield, the big advantage you get is having a man over a lot of the time. So the chances are, whenever you get one of your city midfielders on the ball, they're going to have someone to pass to pretty much 100% of the time. And that is an absolutely fantastic thing, because it just enables you to get the ball down and play a lot more. And if you've got a team who are very, very technically gifted, for example Italy, they are really, really good at getting the ball down. And when you've got someone like Pirlo and Daniele De Rossi sitting in front of your back three, that is an absolutely impregnable partnership. They're really, really brilliant midfielders. So by getting the right personnel in that position, you can dominate the midfield very, very easily. So that's the major strength of playing this formation. And another quite a big strength of playing the midfield this way is you actually get a lot less play in front of your back three than you're expecting. Because one of the major turn-offs from this formation, just by looking at it, is the back three. And you get some people who go, oh, I like the solidity of having four at the back. You know, they just have this mental block about having anything less than four people at the back. But as you can see from this formation guide here and this game in the background, there's virtually no times in the game where my opponent even gets to the back three. And that's because this formation is so compact in midfield, you really don't get exposed too much. The one problem you have to watch out for is the counter-attack, because you're using the back three, if you get too many people pushed up forward on the attack, and you see some examples of this where you're pretty camped in your opponent's half, your two defensive midfielders push up beyond the halfway line to control the play, and sometimes you get a little bit caught out in possession and you can get counter-attacked pretty quickly against you. That's the only time you need to worry about an overload situation at the back, because like I was saying earlier, the vast majority of the time your two holding midfielders sit in front of the back three and really limit the amount of opportunity the opponent gets to run at your back three. And you just saw from that little clip there, I mean, my opponent was running at me with the ball and midfielders kept flying at him from all directions, and eventually it was too much for him and he lost the ball. And then when I get on the ball here, there's so many options for me to pass. I can just keep knocking the ball around under virtually no pressure, and just the opponent is chasing shadows the entire game. And it's a really, really nice balance, and you don't see too many formations have this balance. However, when you're using this formation, there's some things you've really got to pay attention to. And the two, in my opinion, the two most crucial positions in this formation are the centre-backs either side of your central centre-back. Because what I like to do is play a tankish style centre-half in the middle. So someone who's very, very strong, very, very good at tackling and very, very good in the air. And he spends basically the entire game not moving. He's my deepest player pretty much all of the time. He doesn't move and he just just sits in front of the keeper making sure nothing happens. The most important positions are the two people who play either side of him. Because you've only got 3 people at the back, you see a lot of space on the flanks of your defensive 3. And like I was saying earlier, a lot of the time your midfielders will just soak up this space and absorb all the pressure. But if your opponent's skillful enough and he can break through that midfield, there's a lot of space either side of your back 3 which a talented opponent can try and take advantage of. So what I normally do whenever I play 3-5-2 is try and pick players in those positions which are as mobile as possible. And the reason for this is, I think, is fairly self-explanatory. Because there are less players along the back, you need someone who's mobile to cover space. And for example, you just saw there, Ignacio Abate put the tackle in for me at pretty much a orthodox right back position. Now whenever I play 3-5-2 as Italy, I always like to play Abate on the right of the back 3, and he's a very, very good player at this role because, like I was saying earlier, he's incredibly mobile because he's very, very fast. He's good on the ball, so if he does have the opportunity to push forward, he can do. But at the same time, he's tall, he's strong, he's pretty decent in the air as well, so he's just a nice overall style player. Other players I like to think about whenever I'm playing in this particular formation is Vincent Kompany. He's another very, very good mobile centre-back who's quick, strong, great at tackling, good in the air. A very, very nice all-rounder. And if you're doing a Brazilian team, someone nice and cheap to fit in this position is Naldo. And I signed him in my Brazilian squad on Ultimate Team, and I might show you that in a couple of days actually, because it's quite a nice, cheap squad. He's very, very good at this role too, because he's pacey, good, strong, quick, good in the air, and those are the things you're looking for to play in this position. Another really, really good thing about 3-5-2, as you can see from the clip on the screen right now, is the use of wide players. Many formations which are tight in the middle of the field don't have very, very effective wide players, and what I'm thinking of now are formations like 4-3-1-2 and 4-1-2-1-2. You tend to get your midfield very, very narrow in these formations. And even if you do play players who are naturally wide players, so for example in my 4-3-1-2 Premier League Ultimate Team, I played James Milner on the right of the central 3 because he's naturally a winger and he's played winger very, very often for a host of clubs. So even when you're using that in different formations, you tend to find yourself very, very narrow, and you're relying on your fullbacks to push forward and try and occupy the space. And when that happens, you leave yourself with only 2 players at the back when you're playing with a back 4, and that can leave you vulnerable to the counter-attack. But the great thing about using 3-5-2 is you have natural wide players who hug the touchline. And you see pretty much all of the time whenever I'm launching an attack, I'll have a player wide on the touchline, nice easy ball to go to pretty much all of the time, and it's very, very useful for stretching the defence out because you've got 5 people in midfield, so pretty much all of the time you're going to have 3 midfielders in the centre. Now most of your opponents only have 4 people in midfield because the vast majority of people on Ultimate Team will play a 4-1-2-1-2 or a 4-3-1-2 or occasionally a 4-2-3-1. Those are the 3 formations you see most often, and by playing that formation they're going to lose the central battle in midfield if they decide to go for your wingers. But conversely, if they decide to hold tight in the middle of the park and not go for your wingers, they leave your wide players exposed. So it's a bit of a catch-22 for whenever your opponent's playing this formation, because he only has a finite number of players in midfield. And he can't match up exactly all the time, otherwise he's going to completely neuter his attacking strategy. So what ends up happening is you force your opponent to make a choice to either compete in the middle of the park or cut off your wingers' options. And whichever one he chooses, he's going to leave space somewhere for one of your midfielders. And that is the great benefit of this formation. You're always going to have someone pretty much all over the pitch using space, because it's a very, very tricky formation to match up against. Unless you also use 3-5-2, you're not going to match up perfectly to this formation, so you're always going to concede space somewhere on defence. So that's a very, very good benefit of this formation, and when you begin to add all of these benefits up, you begin to see just how powerful it is, because you've got your 2 central strikers, which I always like to play with, because occasionally one up front can get very, very isolated. You've got 5 in midfield, which means you're never really going to find yourself out-competed in midfield, which means you can get the ball down, pass it nicely and create a lot of chances. And even though you've only got 3 at the back, because you've got those 2 sitting midfielders sitting in front of your back 3, very, very rarely do you find any real pressure coming at you from your opponent, because those two sitting midfielders just slow everything down, enable your entire team to drop back into defence, and when you've got that wall of 5 midfielders sitting in front of your back 3, it's very, very hard to break down. So all of these things combined really do make a very, very potent formation. If you guys do choose to use it, the only thing you've got to be careful of is the swift counter-attack when you've had the ball for a while, because like I said earlier, if your two holding midfield players push up past the halfway line, occasionally you can find yourself a little bit vulnerable to very, very fast teams on the break. Because you've only got 3 at the back, if they really go for it on the counter-attack with pacey wingers and strikers, you might find you're going to run out of players while you're waiting for your midfield to get back. But that's the only real weakness of this formation, and if you're careful with how you play, you can pretty much cut that out. And this game's a really, really good example of this, because I didn't play particularly well in this game, but over the entire course of the 12 minutes of gameplay, my opponent had 2 reasonable opportunities, and they weren't even clear cut. So in that entire time when I'm not playing particularly well, this formation is so solid and so compact that it just means that you're not going to get exposed too often, and when you don't get exposed too often, it forces your opponents to try things which are a little bit out of the ordinary, a little bit more risky, and that's when he starts to give the ball away, and that's when the 3-5-2 strengths really come into their own. The ball retention, the number of players in midfield that enable you to really control the game. So guys, I'm going to end the tutorial there. I really hope you've enjoyed it. 3-5-2 is a really, really nicely balanced formation that lends itself to playing in a host of different ways. I mean, you can try and control the play, you can counter-attack, you can play direct, you can play pretty much however you want with this formation. So if you're just getting into a team and you're not really sure what formation to play with, go for it, because it's a very, very good formation and one I heartily recommend. So guys, once again, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, it'd make a big difference to me and the channel if you could click like, because like I've said many times now, if you click like, more people can see the video, because it works the YouTube algorithm more, so it will pop up in the search engine of people more, so more people will be able to see it and hopefully enjoy and benefit from it. So guys, once again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.